This is the Radically Realistic Podcast. I'm Susanna LaPointe, a 14-year personal training and nutrition coaching veteran. My wellness coaching practice incorporates strength, nutrition, and self-care. Because while fitness and nutrition are very important, they are just the tip of the iceberg as far as taking really amazing care of ourselves goes. So I incorporate all other types of self-care practices into my coaching as well. I call this podcast Radically Realistic because when it comes to implementing sustainable habits and practices to improve ourselves or our lives, they must be realistic and they must fit into our current lives. Otherwise, they won't stick. And then what even is the point? Join me each week as we explore another aspect of taking amazing care of ourselves through a lens of being super realistic about what we can and will actually fit into our lives. Let's get started with today's show. Hey everyone. Thank you again for joining me today on the 14th episode of the Radically Realistic Podcast. Today we are talking about the extremely unsexy topic of moderation. The deeper I get into this, the more I love to talk about it because I've discovered for myself and for so many of my clients, this is the only way to get where we want to go. And that is to take the extreme mindset out of our lives and to focus on making super small and sustainable changes that would be considered moderate. Again, not sexy, but truly the only way to make these changes stick so that we can actually get what we want. So I'm going to talk to you all about it today because I'm really passionate about it. I've spent so much of my life in extreme mindsets and it was torture. It was actually seriously torture. It was like if I wasn't doing 100% perfect on whatever it was I was trying to do, I was completely failing and in a complete pit of despair. And I don't think everyone is this way by any means, but I do know that the majority of people I talk to, they're doing this. They're yo-yoing back and forth between this mountain of motivation and a pit of despair when they can't stick to the things they want to stick to. So let's talk about this. After working with clients for 14 years now, a theme that keeps reoccurring is this extreme mindset that our culture imposes upon us. I honestly can't tell you how many clients I've worked with that have told me they are an all or nothing person. I would have used to say that about myself as well. Our culture exemplifies extremes as desirable and sexy. This could be the case for pretty much any area you can think of. But the shock factor that advertisers and performers and entertainers go to keep one-upping each other can only be described as extreme. So as consumers of all things, we develop a mindset that more is better and hardcore is the only way to go. This perpetuates the idea in our head that the no pain, no gain idea, that you can rest when you're dead idea, and the second place is the first loser. All of these are subtle and not so subtle messages we have taken in over our lives, and they become our beliefs. And when something becomes a belief, we act on it, either subconsciously or consciously, usually subconsciously. Anyways, as I always do, I am relating most everything in this episode to the pursuit of living a healthier lifestyle, since that is my area of expertise. Namely, the pursuit of improving our nutrition and or building a solid movement practice. I've been in this industry for almost 15 years now, and these patterns keep emerging, and I feel like I need to say something. However, it's not the sexy thing, so I may not get a lot of takers on my philosophy, but it's the thing that actually works. That's why the diet industry is so big. It's such a bazillion-dollar industry because these sexy claims to change your life in these short periods of time, either with this extreme diet or this extreme workout plan, they hook us. And that, they hook us. This is a little bit less of a hook. But I'm telling you, long term, this is the only thing that's going to work. So, anyways, thinking back to a conversation I had about a month ago with a man that I know who was nostalgically remembering a contest he had won at his gym like a year back. It was some sort of points system where you got points for exercising the longest and the hardest in the space of a month. He was thinking back fondly to that time and how great of shape he was in, and I couldn't help but ask him what he was doing now, and the answer was nothing. He wasn't doing anything. Nothing at all. No exercise at all. A lot of drinking, no exercise. And this actually made me super angry, not at him, of course, but just at this attraction to these very short-term, extreme challenges or plans or protocols or whatever it is that we're attracted to that promise these results, but they're not sustainable. None of them are sustainable. They're these short-term things that catch our attention, that prey upon our short-term ability to focus. And we get really excited because we get these amazing, quote, results, and they don't last. I've been really thinking about this a lot this week, and I'm thinking that for most humans, the goal must be moderation. This does not apply to athletes or people that are making a living off of their bodies in some way. So this does not apply to everyone, but I think it applies to about 99.9% of the rest of us who live normal lives. We want to have a good social life. We work, we have children we take care of, we have normal lives. This applies to like most humans, again, not extreme athletes or people that make a living off of something that's not like kind of a typical thing. So I'm talking to a very large percentage of humanity, but it's not everybody. So I'm just disclaiming that. A large part of my practice is helping my clients recognize and even out these mountains of motivation coupled by a valley of no motivation. I don't actually love to use the word motivation because it's an emotion and it's so temporary, but I do think it's something that everyone can identify with. So I'm just going to take a quick side note and say the feeling of motivation is a feeling that you want to do something and that you have the desire and drive to do it. But it is a feeling and it's an emotion, and emotions are temporary. And depending on motivation for building healthy habits is totally futile. We can get a wave of motivation from listening to a song on our playlist and have a feeling at that moment that we are unstoppable. But transferring that same feeling to action 3 days later when that feeling is actually no longer present usually results in doing nothing. Anyways, the conversation with this man made me realize that these 30-day challenges and 6-week transformations and 2-week cleanses and all these short-term pushes for activity or a restrictive diet of some kind that is not sustainable, it keeps us in this cycle of starting and stopping and starting and stopping over and over again. These big mountains of effort and enthusiasm followed by these giant valleys of doing nothing because the motivation has waned keep us stuck. I see this over and over again. Usually people come to me after many cycles, years usually, of this happening to them in their lives. My mission in my practice is to help them even out these highs and lows and help them find a moderate middle road in everything. I believe this is the only way to be truly balanced and content in life. The other way is just too much of an emotional roller coaster, back and forth, up and down, yo-yoing for years, literally years. People yo-yo for years. And it just like consumes their lives. So obviously you can tell I'm very passionate about this, but my goal is to stop this in as many people as I can. When I was back in my extreme eating disorder and exercise days, I couldn't see any other way either. I would have identified myself as an all or nothing person back then as well. Now, after years and years of self-introspection and personal development work, I realize that this is a product of not being fully in tune with your body and your mindset and not prioritizing your mental health. The back and forth is addicting. I was totally in it. These very focused times of being extremely restrictive was like a high, but alternating with these all-out binges and being in a pit of despair. It was just like, why couldn't I stay on track? And the answer here seems very simple, But whatever I was doing, whatever you're doing that you can't maintain for a long period of time, it's just simply not sustainable. My main message of the Radically Realistic podcast is to be incredibly realistic with what we can and actually will do. These hardcore plans that are so attractive and so tempting and enticing, they draw us in with a promise of massive radical change, usually related to our appearance. And these promises are almost impossible to ignore. I still find these thoughts sprinkling in my brain now and then related to workouts and nutrition. It's like they just pop into my brain because I'm so conditioned to seek out a quick fix, because we all are. The huge detriment to these things is that they are so different from what we are currently doing that there's no way that they are sustainable. There's no way to change everything about such a huge part of your life, such as what you eat every single day, that your body will not rebel against it. There's no way to start a hardcore exercise program that has you working out multiple times a week, doing hard workouts when you're coming from doing much less, that you can sustain. There's no part of those things that is even slightly sustainable, and that is why they fail every single time. What I am proposing is that we just back off the extremes. I'm talking about extremes in both directions. Extreme nutritional restriction, and this would also translate to extreme exercise, and then the complete opposite, being extreme indulgence, eating whatever and drinking whatever we want, treating ourselves way more often than is good for us. And it's often coupled by a total lack of movement. What if we pursue moderation in all areas of our lives? And the benefit of this, it is not so hard to force our bodies to stay in this place. If we're having to force ourselves into something that is so different than what we are already doing and we can't ever stay there, it would make more sense to ease into slow, small changes that could only be classified as moderate. Again, I know this is not the sexy or attractive way, but I 100% truly believe, and I have seen over and over again, that that is the only thing that actually works. Inside this moderate lifestyle that you can build, you can slowly work towards improving over time. Here is an example from someone's real life. One of my clients came to me several years ago after yo-yo dieting for several years. She couldn't understand why she couldn't just stick to the plan long enough to get to her goal weight. After taking a close look at what she was doing over the period of a couple weeks, I could see that implementing very small changes would be much more enjoyable and sustainable than this restrictive diet she had been on that basically had her starving. So we backed off on the restriction and just focused on stabilizing her blood sugar all day long. This gave her permission to kind of eat what she wanted within a little bit of a framework so that she knew that her blood sugar was stable. When your blood sugar is stable, then your intense cravings go away. Over several weeks, we could make small adjustments to the quality of her calories and slowly increase the protein and vegetable content and cut down on the empty calories like breads and pastas. Because each change was so small and barely perceptible, she didn't even miss anything enough to throw her into a binge and completely go off plan. That's what usually happens when you're dieting, is your body eventually feels so restricted that it forces you into a binge. And then you start the whole process all over again. We made sure she was satisfied every day and did not feel deprived. The degree to which you restrict will always be the degree to which you binge. Your body cannot be under restriction for very long before it completely starts to retaliate. The same is true for exercise as well. A lot of times people start a full-blown hardcore exercise plan going from doing very little or doing nothing at all, and it's no wonder that they quickly get injured or burnt out. Again, we have this belief that more is better. One of the things I keep telling my clients is that more is not better and that less is more. Trying to rein in these all or nothing beliefs is a really big part of my practice. Helping people realize that we do not have to be hardcore and extreme with everything. It is much more enjoyable to go with a moderate route and make small changes that lead to really big changes over time. But evening out those highs and lows and all the stops and starts has to happen in order to achieve permanent change. I promise you, it is way more fun to not beat the shit out of yourself physically and mentally and actually enjoy your life and to truly enjoy the way that you eat and enjoy the way that you move instead of suffering through what you think you, quote, should be doing, quote. I plan to dive a little bit more into this because moderation is what truly saved me from the yo-yo back and forth mentality where I was literally suffering. And I know a lot of people are as well with this all or nothing mindset. So again, my goal is to help as many people break free from the jail that this mindset is, to help as many people break free from that as possible. That's my goal. So if you are listening to this and you identify yourself in the camp of having an all or nothing mindset related to nutrition or fitness / exercise / movement, I would love to chat with you. You can reach out to me at any of the listings in the show notes. I have Instagram, I have Facebook. You can email me, you can go to my website and set up a phone call. I would love to chat with you about implementing slow, moderate changes into your life so you can get where you actually want to get. Thank you so much for being here today, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.